What in the world is going on? What in the world is going on? With President Trump. I think this is the worst ever, and I just need to get it off my chest. Ah! Can I get this off my chest? This mess with Trump. Just telling all type of stories in our face. And expect for people to believe him. And he is cold busted. I absolutely mean cold busted. Signatures all over the card. Lawsuits he done lost. He want us to pay for them. What in the world is going on? We need to know. We need answers.
According to a source familiar, and boy, would I like to be there. That is the book that includes the letter that appears to be signed by President Trump, though he is now denying it. One of the lawyers for Epstein's estate says they hope to be turning over more documents soon. My colleague Hallie Jackson has the latest reaction from the White House. President Trump, for the first time, now reacting to the release of that notorious Jeffrey Epstein birthday book, telling NBC's Garrett Haake in a phone call, it's a dead issue, not commenting further. That's after the House Oversight Committee released these images of a book compiled by Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell for Epstein's 50th birthday.
And he moved her for nothing.
It includes this drawing, allegedly from the president, of a naked woman's outline, a signature near the thighs. The message, in part, enigmas never age.
The president did not write that letter. He did not sign those documents.
The White House.
Girl, you wasn't nowhere around. Hell, was you even born?
And blasting Democrats who have been vocal.
The release of the salacious pictures from the Epstein files shows what a liar Trump is.
But it's Republicans, the president's own party, leading the
He'll lie in your
investigation on
face.
Capitol Hill.
Democrats find one thing in there and they promote it and try to get a narrative. This investigation is about providing justice and accountability for the victims.
And it's now about a lying president.
Is trying to pressure Trump in the courts against sending troops into Democrat-led cities. They include senators who represent Chicago, Baltimore, Boston, and Portland, all cities where Trump has threatened to send the National Guard.
And they need to go to Memphis.
The New York Times points out recently that many big city leaders are fine with help on crime. In fact, they welcome it. But they want help from federal agents to trace guns, conduct surveillance, and capture fugitives. Those are the things local and federal officers usually coordinate on. What they don't want is federal troops occupying their city and getting involved in law enforcement. And it does matter what local leaders want. As law enforcement experts have told the Times, quote, policing without the blessing of those being policed can backfire, end quote. And we've got some breaking news within the last hour. A U.S. district judge has temporarily blocked Donald Trump's firing of Fed Governor Lisa Cook as her lawsuit plays out. We're going to dig into that in just a bit. But let's get started and get smarter tonight with the help of our leadoff panel.
Let's get smarter.
Fiona is here, NBC Capitol Hill correspondent. Jeff Mason, White House correspondent for Reuters, and former Democratic Senator Doug Jones of the state of Alabama. All right, tonight, a reporter actually asked the president about the letter in the birthday book, and I want to share his response.
It's not my signature, and it's not the way I speak. And anybody that's covered me for a long time know that's not my language. It's nonsense.
Well, 30, 40 years ago it was.
All you do is trying to get off the great success of D.C. and about 200 other things we've done that are so successful.
Okay, riddle me this, Jeff. Trump is clearly trying to completely shut the Epstein story down, but at the same time, his press secretary is agreeing to potential handwriting analysis. Like, explain the strategy to me.
He's been trying to shut the story down for weeks unsuccessfully, and that is unusual for President Trump in terms of that success, because even long before he was president of the United States, one of his superpowers as a public figure has been the ability to deflect, to turn people's attention elsewhere, and to change the subject. And that just hasn't worked with this particular issue, in large part, in this case, because it's his base that's still upset about it, and it's Republicans who are pursuing the investigation, in addition to Democrats, for sure. But I think it's clear that he's frustrated by it. He wanted tonight to talk about what he views as success from the National Guard being in Washington, D.C., and he's asked about Jeffrey Epstein. And you're right, Caroline Leavitt also said today in her briefing that the White House would be open to a forensic test of the signature. But I think
Take a lot of
tests.
tests.
Because they believe very strongly that they're right, and they believe what the president says when he says that that isn't his signature and those are not his words.
Doug, how would you handle this if you were in the Senate right now, representing Alabama? What would you do? What would your constituents want you to do?
You know, I would just say, okay, get the forensic analysis. Let's look at it. And it doesn't take a forensic analysis to see that that's Donald Trump's handwriting. This is not something that can be easily replicated. And the drawing is so consistent with other drawings that we know exactly that he's done that have been sold at auction. You just show those side by side. You go into the Senate floor, you go into a town hall, you show those things side by side, and then you prove it.
Well, James Comer, yes, he's a Republican, but he is the man leading the investigation. He's the House Oversight Chair. He stands by Trump's claim that it's not him.
Of course he's going to stand by his claim. You know, Stephanie.
But hold on, not of course, because until now, whether it's James Comer or others, the investigation is going on.
No, but of course he's going to stand by those claims. Think about everything that Comer has done. He has stood by this consistently. This whole investigation is an effort to prove the president not guilty of anything. He may not be guilty of anything. If he's not guilty of anything, release the files. Go ahead and get to the point of the matter. Don't release stuff that's already been out there in the media. Release the files. Simply release the entire files. That's the easiest way to do this. All the statements, all of the things. And I'll tell you something else.
Please.
Release
I would
the
be
files.
demanding, if I was in the Senate right now,
Release
I'd be on
the
the floor of the Senate
files.
saying, I'm tired of listening to the president talk about that this is a hoax. And frankly, I'm tired of the media just assuming that, well, he said it was a hoax. So what do you respond to that? Well, it's not a hoax. He's never explained what's the hoax. Is it a hoax that these women are telling lies? Is it a hoax that there's even a file? What does he mean by it's a hoax? Nobody challenges him because he said it so often about Mueller and the Russia investigation. It's all a hoax. But nobody says, explain to us what about
the
this
hoax.
is not true.
Hey, Jeff Mason, next time you're in the White House press briefing room, Doug Jones just gave you an assignment, and it's a good one. All right, Melanie, we know that the Oversight Committee...
May I respond to that briefly?
No, please.
Sorry.
What's the hoax?
Yes.
Actually, I mean, you're not entirely right about that, Doug, because today one of my good colleagues, Maggie Haberman from the New York Times, when she was called on, did ask Caroline Leavitt very specifically, what do you mean when you say it's a hoax? And so collectively, she on our part challenged that language, and Leavitt's response was basically to say it's a hoax because Democrats don't actually believe in following or caring about people who are victims of crime. So she turned it into a political answer, but we have challenged the White House on that vocabulary.
I mean, do you hear
so glad
Jeff
to hear
Mason taking credit for Maggie Haberman's good question? I never heard that before. Oh, she was collectively asking for all of us. You know what? On Maggie's behalf, baloney.
I'm saying when she had her turn, that's what she asked, and she did a great job.
And that's great. But you know what?
She just didn't
answer the question. It's not a hoax because Democrats don't believe X. That's not an answer.
That's not.
And so somebody needs to tomorrow follow up on that and say, I'm sorry, Caroline, that's not an answer. That's not saying what's a hoax. And somebody needs to ask the President of the United States directly about it.
Indeed. All right, Melanie, tomorrow the House Oversight Committee staff is going to review the unredacted birthday book. Like, where does this investigation stand? Where's it going next?
Yeah, so they're going to be able to go to New York tomorrow and view the original documents in their original form, but they already were posted publicly. And really, the only information that, as far as our review could tell, was redacted was victim information. So I'm not sure that tomorrow's trip up to New York is going to reveal much information, but the committee does say it's following other leads that it did get, including some bank account information that was turned over from the estate. Comer said he's going to try to go.
He done bought a whole woman.
I think for Comer, there's a real question, though, about what his end game is. It's really remarkable. We hinted at this earlier in the segment, but it's just so remarkable that this information, Stephanie, is coming because of a Republican
we see the card
committee. I mean, you have to think that the White House cannot be happy with the...
And they got a check showing that he done bought a woman. A whole woman. That reminds me of when that guy was doing that investigation in Colombia, I think. And he was talking about how they could buy those kids and stuff.
Direction of this probe and what they've dug up. And it really shows the risk for Republicans here, that they might be digging up information that they don't feel comfortable with, or that put Trump's or their own party in a difficult spot.
So
I
they in
think
a
Comer's
difficult
in a really
spot, all
difficult
right.
position here. He says he really wants to, again, focus on the money, focus on the non-prosecution agreement, how the government
I'm gonna go to it next.
The case, so maybe finding some sort of scalp that they can bring in all of this. But it just
a depreciating woman
error for Republicans who have just really been struggling with how to deal with this issue as Trump wishes it to go away and the base just is clamoring for more information.
Sure, but to be clear, Donald Trump
like they used to buy women back in the day in foreign countries.
All sorts of leaders all across the political spectrum, business leaders, name your pick, name your industry. There are really powerful men who should be really worried across the board. All right, new topic.
And it don't
Jeff,
matter
for you.
again.
The president, of course, is threatening to send military into cities. The immigration crackdown in Chicago has begun. But so far, there are not any troops in any cities except D.C. What are you hearing?
I'm hearing a few different things. Number one, I asked the president about this on Sunday night when we got back from New York, actually from the U.S. Open.
Deep.
And I asked him if there were plans, if he had plans for Chicago this week. And he sort of dodged my question and went into talking about the success that he believes they have had in
Pressure, do you remember when I had that, when we was watching that guy? He was undercover. And he was talking about how, you know, they was buying the minors and refurbishing them when they have mileage on them. When I heard that today, that's what it reminded me of, that he bought a depreciating woman. So it was like maybe she was mid-age, middle age, or, you know, but her mileage was depreciating. She had been, you know, used before. I'm going to get to it if I don't get sleepy.
And in fact, he tried to illustrate that tonight by going out for dinner in Washington, D.C. and mentioning, and he's using that as an example of what he believes is a sign that Washington, D.C. no longer has crime. But by the way, I did say when we spoke about this on the tarmac that the city still does have crime, and his response to that was not very much. But broadly, to your question, Steph, it's still in the works. These are still things that they're working on.
I'm kind of surprised he bought
going to Chicago or the invasion of Chicago.
Baby, don't let them find that chick.
Federal forces hasn't happened yet, and that may be in part because the White House is still looking at the legal ramifications of that. The president has also talked about going
they better not find no chick with Melania's name on it.
That the federal government or federal forces would be welcomed more than these blue states and blue cities. But he's still, and Caroline did this today too.
And she came over illegally too.
In blue states, in blue cities, and the threat is still very real from his part and from the part of the White House.
You think all rich men, hold on. You think all rich men buy their women? Well, yeah, but don't leave no paper trail. You just better take her out to eat. You better take her out for dinner and buy her nice things. Let it be that way. Don't come back with no check to Epstein. Ha. You know. Yeah, you know. So yes, nice dinner. Not dinner. denture, nice rings, jewelries, and furs. Let me find that one that I did earlier with that big check. Y'all please come in hitting the like button. Even the ones that are in the bushes. We appreciate those too. Bear with me. Let me get it pulled up. Yeah, he holding a whole check. And I saw somewhere earlier he running out. What you running for? Oh, Lord, where is it? Here we go. Is this it?
Trying to do to cover it up. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you. Donald Trump has tried and failed to run from his Jeffrey Epstein scandal, but it is not going away. Just today, we saw the Oversight Committee release the letter that Donald Trump wrote to Jeffrey Epstein in his birthday book. And if you thought that was bad, it only got worse, because the Wall Street Journal, which originally broke that story, has released new reporting on a sale of a girl between Trump and Epstein. You heard that right. They have the photos and the check. We are going to get into what has been the craziest day of this Epstein scandal.
How much was your check, Pressure?
Posting that not just Trump, but Carolyn Levitt are trying to do to cover it up. We're going to get into it all.
This is crazy. This is madness. He should have never, ever said anything.
It goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we can get into this story, this crazy new Wall Street Journal story of this check, I want to start with what Jasmine Crockett had to say today about the cover-ups happening right now in the White House.
And I also want to point out that it is so rich that the Republicans believe in small government, and this is the biggest government that I've ever seen, because they have decided that now they are going to somehow be the local police that is going to solve local crime at the federal level. That is not what we're supposed to do, especially on our level. What we do is we write federal laws. That is our job, and that is the lane that we're going to stay in. And the only reason we're talking about January 6th is because the Republicans are the ones bringing this, not us.
Oh.
I got it, Coach! I got it! Getting your greens shouldn't make a mess. Now more than ever, we are going to see Donald Trump and Republicans in Congress use and abuse their power as much as possible to distract us from these stories, because they do not want us paying attention, especially this latest Wall Street Journal piece about the check that was written. This is insanity. The sale of a girl, as outlined in this story, it is absolute madness. But where it all starts, of course, is the story that Robert Garcia broke today. How MAGA is reacting. We're going to get to that, but I want to start with Robert Garcia.
Hey, it's Congressman Robert Garcia. As you may have heard, Oversight Democrats just got a hold of the Jeffrey Epstein birthday book and note that, of course, was sent by Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein. This note, Donald Trump has said, does not exist. Well, once again, he is lying to the American public and is leading a White House cover-up. Now, I'm going to show you the note that we've now acquired. It's a little crude, so I do apologize if you don't want to see it. But this is the actual note. You see the president's signature there. You can read some of the words that he is sharing with his friend, Jeffrey Epstein. Mr. President, this is not a hoax. You are lying to the American public. You are involved in a cover-up, American public. You are involved with his friend, Jeffrey Epstein. Mr. President, this is not a hoax. Signature there. You can read some of the words that he is sharing with his friend, Jeffrey Epstein. Mr. President, this is not a hoax. You are lying to the American public. You are involved in a cover-up. Now, the Oversight Committee is going to be reviewing the documents we received today, and we will not stop until we get justice for the victims of Jeffrey Epstein and all those that were involved. We do not care how powerful you are, how connected you are, how much money and wealth you have, or what political party that you are in. We will get justice for these survivors, and we'll get to the truth.
Let's get to the truth.
It is clear as day that Donald Trump wrote this letter, that Donald Trump sent this letter, and that this letter is a representation of how Donald Trump not only views Epstein's habits as it comes to young girls, but potentially Trump's. It is disgusting, but it is also clear as day. Republicans denied this letter even existed. Donald Trump went forward with a lawsuit to say that this was defamation. Carolyn Levitt is still trying to spin the story. It's not working. We're going to check it out and then get into this latest reporting. As you can see here, it couldn't be clearer that Donald Trump's signature on this letter matches other authenticated signatures of Donald Trump's at the same time. But of course, Carolyn Levitt had to jump in and write the latest piece published by Republicans denied this letter even existed. Donald Trump went forward with a lawsuit to say that this was defamation. Carolyn Levitt is still trying to spin the story. It's not working. We're going to check it out and then get into this latest reporting. As you can see here, it couldn't be clearer that Donald Trump's signature on this letter matches other authenticated signatures of Donald Trump's at the same time. But of course, Carolyn Levitt had to jump in and write the latest
So
piece
now we
published
can't
by the
see.
Wall Street Journal proves this entire birthday card story is false. As I have said all along, it's very clear President Trump did not draw this picture and he did not sign it. President Trump's legal team will continue to aggressively pursue litigation. Furthermore, the reporter who wrote this hatchet job reached out for comment at the exact same minute he published his story, giving us no time to respond. This is fake news to perpetuate the Democrat Epstein hoax. The Democrat Epstein hoax? You just heard survivors speak outside the Capitol. Carolyn, how is this false? What about it is false? And of course that's clearly Donald Trump's signature, but if you want something even clearer than that, how about him standing next to Epstein in this disgusting new element of the story? Also in the new Wall Street Journal story today, the Pascal letter included a photo of a poster board sized check for $22,500, which has been mocked up to appear that it was sent from Trump to Epstein. Beneath it, a handwritten caption said, "Jeffrey showing early talents with money plus women sells fully depreciated redacted to Donald Trump for $22,500. The woman's name is redacted in the image. You can see the image here of the check being given to Jeffrey Epstein.
Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, Lord.
From Donald Trump with the mention of selling a woman. They are joking about Donald Trump having purchased a fully depreciated woman from Jeffrey Epstein. Now, what does that mean? There are so many things that we could take away from that. Is that saying the girl is now too old for Epstein, too used up to invoke their disgusting language? This is foul that they were making jokes, but it proves it all, which is why Donald Trump tried to respond with his own distraction. After this story broke, he took to Truth Social to post this. Trump wrote on Truth Social, "I have seen the horrific video of a beautiful young Ukrainian refugee who came to America to escape the vicious war in Ukraine and was innocently riding the metro in Charlotte, where she was brutally ambushed. The perpetrator was a well-known career criminal who has been previously arrested and released in January a total of 14 times. What the hell was he doing riding the train and walking the streets? Criminals like this need to be locked up." The blood of this innocent woman is on the hands of Democrats who refuse to put bad people in jail, including former disgraced governor and wannabe Senator Roy Cooper. North Carolina and every state needs law and order, and only Republicans will deliver it. Additionally, where is the outrage from the mainstream media on this horrible tragedy? So in an effort to distract from his Epstein scandal, Donald Trump is trying to turn what is a tragedy into a political pawn for himself, as he has done with Epstein, only for it, of course, to blow up in his face, as it has with Jeffrey Epstein. Donald Trump doesn't care about keeping people safe. Donald Trump doesn't care about anything but Donald Trump. And that's been proven out time and time again. This Epstein letter is a disgrace. That check is abominable. I don't know how anyone can see any of this and think anything other than that Donald Trump, now more than ever, has always been completely unqualified, not for the presidency, but to exist in public life. This is a criminal. This is a disgusting human being. And if you are willing
But
to
when did they
defend
realize
this
he was
guy,
a
it
criminal?
means
He
you
was
not only
already a
empower,
convicted felon. He was a convicted felon who should have not been able to run for president, especially when convicted felons can't get jobs in most places. So why should he be able to get the highest job in the U.S.? Why? I mean, did you think that he was going to bring honesty and
pathetic means
integrity?
that you are at the same level
No.
of disgust that he is. And you should think about that, Republicans, before you give it all away to Donald Trump even more. And that is exactly what we heard called out by our friends at MSNBC, specifically Tim Miller, responding to this story.
Yeah, well, I think it's their instinct to lie, for starters. When they're presented with inconvenient information, it's easier for them to talk about the fake news and blame the fake news than actually engage on the merits. On this one in particular, it is true that it's not known that Donald Trump was bawdy, but there is this mythos that Will could talk about for sure on some on the MAGA right and the QAnon right, that Trump was like fighting against, the elite pedophile rings out there, and that he was, some warrior on the inside who was going to expose all these people. And now here he is, not only not exposing them all, but writing this note to Epstein here that is just extremely familiar, right? Like
Our secret.
It's one thing. It is true that famous people sometimes sign birthday cards for people or sign generic notes for people. That is not what we're seeing here. I mean, we have this drawing of what appears to be a young woman, I would say, and Donald Trump talking about how they share certain things in common, about how they have all these wonderful secrets together. I mean, it's a letter from two guys that get in trouble together and have a bromance. That's what this is. It's not some generic letter, and so I think that's why they
Share women,
are more sensitive
sell
about
each
it,
other.
because it's not as if it's just two famous people getting their picture together at another famous person's party.
Yeah,
It's more
I hear you on that, but I don't think even if, would it be surprising that Donald Trump wrote something like this to one of his friends? No, even if that friend did turn out to be a creep, I'm not sure it would be surprising. I don't know if that inherently means that Donald Trump himself is also engaging in the same behavior. He was interacting with lots of people. I think making that jump is easier to do if the person is.
Do you want to be bald, lady?
Strange and not admitting to just some obvious things. When you're not saying, "Yeah, I wrote this. I did do this picture. No, it's not me. Somebody else drew it. It's not my signature." When it looks exactly like your signature, that starts to raise more questions. But I want to linger on what Tim said a moment ago about the right canonizing Donald Trump as the figure who was going to expose all of this. Speaker Mike Johnson had this very weird moment on Friday where he suggested that Donald Trump was actually an FBI informant against Jeffrey Epstein. He was the one that tipped off the FBI back in the early 2000s. He walked that back and cleaned it up a bit in a statement today, but it just was out there for 3 or 4 days, out there in the press. Where does that come from, this idea that
Can y'all please hit the like button for me?
Tom Winter on earlier today. He's reviewed the documents, and the initial tip came from...
Hi, I'm Mark Elias, a lawyer for the Democrats, and I need your help to join me in standing up against Donald.
According to the government documents, came from the family members of some of the girls who were victimized.
I don't know if that's for me or
Will. I'm sending that to you. I'm sorry, Will.
Oh, sure.
It was a big wind-up.
Sure. So in this case, I mean, look, conspiracy theorists, QAnon believers, Trump supporters have had a problem for a long time, which is how do you square Donald Trump's friendship with this, convicted charged sex trafficker and pedophile, all these things, convicted pedophile. And what they came up with was, well, maybe Trump was kind of going in on the inside to expose Jeffrey Epstein. Maybe he made Alex Acosta, the prosecutor who gave Epstein a sweetheart deal, maybe he put him in the cabinet to draw attention to how awful this deal was. So they kind of exist in this alternate universe, and that's only gotten worse since Trump tried to close the Epstein case along with Pam Bondi. And so, again, it's bizarre to me that this has reached the point where the Speaker of the House is now saying, well, maybe Trump is an FBI informant. Maybe he was working to take down Epstein. But really, I mean, they're grasping at straws because, as you said, Katie, the whole thing is really weird. The idea that Trump was friends with this notorious pedophile, and all of a sudden his administration is doing everything they can to stop this discussion about it.
Yeah, I
And
guess
you
if you're
moved
innocent, why do
Ghislaine
you protest so much
Maxwell.
about it? Why do you claim that you're not involved in any way? Why is this not your signature? We've seen the images. We've seen them partying together. Donald Trump has given quotes to magazines about the kind of guy that Jeffrey Epstein was. It's all been out there.
This is truly a bombshell. I'm unsure how Trump comes back from this. I know the base will always be there for him. But even if you are a cultist, it is hard to look past this. It will be especially difficult if
you're a cultist,
which we are going to be doing on this show every single day. Donald Trump is the weakest president in American history, and he doesn't need anyone to say it for him. He does it himself every day. Now, Donald Trump displays this with his cognitive and physical decline, of course, but the way that he bends the knee to dictators, the way he capitulates to Putin, praises Xi, Donald Trump shows us every single day that he is weak. And now world leaders are cementing that point in the most dangerous way possible as war is currently breaking out. And Donald Trump is doing what? Posting away. We are going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button,
crazy stuff that don't have nothing to
in
do with
supporting
nothing.
our work. Now, before we can get into the latest news on the war breaking out across the world, I want to start with what Chris Murphy had to say in response before we see Trump's response, insane posts.
In the region, and so obviously this is something that they've been watching. Can I ask you, sir, about some breaking news that is coming in to CNN tonight? We are told that Polish and NATO aircraft have been scrambled, and the Warsaw International Airport has been closed because there are reports of Russian drones flying over Poland. We have not been able to independently verify these reports. Do you have anything on this? Have you been briefed or heard anything credible on whether or not this is happening tonight?
No, I have not. This is the first time hearing of it. Obviously, we have had in the past a number of instances where Poland has been in the crossfire of the war between Russia and Ukraine, debris falling on Polish territory. Poland, of course, has done heroic work in being a transit hub for material into Ukraine, and that, of course, puts them in the crosshairs in the Kremlin. But no, I have not received any briefing about that news.
If this is accurate, what does that say to you? If this is something that the Polish, I mean, we're hearing from the operational command there that says that they're fully prepared for an immediate response. If Russian drones violated Polish airspace, what do you believe the United States should do in response?
Well, let me get briefed on that before I start engaging in hypothetical responses. That obviously would be incredibly serious if there were Russian aerial assets flying over a NATO country. So probably not smart for me to engage in speculation before having a briefing on it.
The fact that Senator Murphy was so hesitant to even comment or speculate goes to show the place that we are in right now. And we are in this place because of Donald Trump's weakness. The No New Wars president not only has started
incredibly serious if there were Russian aerial assets flying over a NATO country. So probably not smart for me to engage in speculation before having a briefing on it.
The fact that Senator Murphy was so hesitant to even comment or speculate goes to show the place that we are in right now. And we are in this place because of Donald Trump's weakness. The No New Wars president not only has started some, engaged in unnecessary and unconstitutional conflict, but seems to not care about any actual law around
right.
Other wars. But he's doing it, it seems, at least in this moment, because he is so to project strength, more so than just the evil that resides in him constantly. But that strength isn't coming. because Donald Trump is being walked all over right now as we see conflicts breaking out across the world. Call to Activism reports major breaking. Russian drones have reportedly crossed into Polish airspace as they carried out large-scale overnight strikes on Ukraine, putting a Polish city under threat. Polish authorities closed their airport, a key logistics hub for Western military aid to Ukraine, cited unplanned military activity related to ensuring state security and that their forces remain fully prepared to respond. The initial warnings come from the Ukraine Air Force, who spotted the drones and alerted Polish authorities. Poland is a NATO country. Any armed military attack against it would pull Europe and the United States into war with. A sitting member of Congress also wrote Russia is attacking NATO ally Poland with Iranian Shahad drones less than a week after Donald Trump hosted the president at the White House. This is an act of war, and we are grateful to NATO allies for their swift response to war criminal Putin's continued unprovoked aggression against free and productive nations. These were not the only strikes we saw today, though, as Israel's attack in Qatar has infuriated Trump advisors. Behind the scenes, the news stunned the White House and infuriated some of Trump's top advisors because it came as the U.S. was waiting for Hamas to respond to Donald Trump's new proposal for peace in Gaza. So wherever Donald Trump looks, he is being walked all over by world leaders, carrying out acts of war crimes, actually, if we can be more accurate and specific. And Donald Trump's response? Some of the most insane posts that we've seen in a while. Donald Trump started off the night as he was talking about partnership with India by sharing a post by President Modi congratulating Donald Trump, talking about their trade negotiations. Donald Trump also posted today about the Israeli strike, writing Qatar, a sovereign nation and close ally of the United States that is working very hard and bravely taking risks with us to broker peace, does not advance Israel or America's goal. Donald Trump, of course, capped off his midnight posting spree with, "Thank you, Lenny. Great to be a winner, and that is you, a winner and a champion. Make America great again, President DJT." Responding to this story, New York town reverses ban on Trump flag after public outcry, DOJ involvement. So Donald Trump spent the night in response to strikes around the world, praising his non-existent trade negotiations, saying that he was very disappointed in Netanyahu, the war criminal, but nothing else, because of course that's Donald Trump's actual boss, and then praising a city for allowing his flag, by the way, Donald Trump's flag, doesn't care about anything else but himself, to be flown. That is what the commander-in-chief is focused on. The man who has made us so weak and such a joke around the world, those are his focuses. Yeah, I don't think that makes me feel safe going to bed tonight. I don't know how you feel. Probably not great, but this is Donald Trump's focus. Distraction, diversion, and playing a tough guy when he is anything but that. We know that Donald Trump is weak, Donald Trump is pathetic, and Donald Trump is looking for us to talk about anything else but that, which is why Republicans are invoking, with their ever so pertinent obsession, the 2020 election once again, starting their own January 6th committee. And for some reason, I don't know why, but they think this is the most important topic of the day. Democrats are responding, and Eric Swalwell, Jared Moskowitz talked all about that right here.
It is time to finish the job. So a few things there. One, this idea that the real question about what happened on January 6th is a, quote, security failure. I think that is already an attempt to whitewash and reframe this. But then also when he says it's time to finish the job, is the job he's referring to investigating the investigators, or is the job he's referring to the violent coup?
The job is to continue what Donald Trump started on January 6th, which was to overthrow government, to get rid of the rules we all play by so that he can complete his aspirations to be a dictator. However, we all saw with our own eyes what happened that day. And there's 3 days in American history that are the most important. December 6, 1941, when Pearl Harbor was bombed, September 11, and January 6. I don't have to tell you the years of the last two, because they're seared in our memory, but we also saw them with our own eyes. And so this is an effort by Donald Trump to erase what we saw with our own eyes. And he's not just doing this with January 6th to exonerate himself and to give himself clean hands. He's telling you to not see with your own eyes the rising grocery prices, which he said would be gone on day one. He's telling you not to see your neighbor being chased through a Home Depot parking lot because he's trying to work hard to provide for his family. He's telling you not to see the new wars that he's adding to the map and the ones that he hasn't taken off. And he's telling you not to see the drawing that he made for the world's worst child sex predator, Jeffrey Epstein. And so what my theme and goal will be for the committee is for the American people to walk away and put truth over Trump.
You know, this just reminds me, like so many things,
Truth
in this
over
moment
Trump.
in
I like that.
post-Civil War in America. The Confederacy lost. They were beaten militarily. Yet all of these people, some of them politicians, some of them wealthy Southern elites, if you will, business folk, they banded together to create this narrative, the lost cause narrative, that the Civil War was really about states' rights. It wasn't about slavery and the ability to own people that look like me and Michael. The Atlantic's David A. Graham wrote on October 18th in 2021 about the new lost cause. He writes this: the new lost cause, like the old one, seeks to convert a shameful catastrophe into a celebration of the valor and honor of the culprits and portray those who attack the country as true patriots. Just as neo-Confederate revisionism shaped racial violence and oppression after the Civil War, Trump's new lost cause poses a continuing peril to the hope of one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Congressman Moskowitz, I would argue that they want to change the narrative because they would like to do this again. They tried to steal the election before. He is going to try to steal the election again. He's not going to wait till 2028. They're trying to steal the 2026 election. January 6th is, this committee is not so much about the past as it is about the future and what they're planning to do.
Well, let's hope they don't try it again, although with that comparison, these are the same people that do Civil War reenactments. So, who knows? I think really this is about Trump trying to exonerate himself and rewrite history, that he did nothing wrong. This is about him. Right? This is about him. That's why he pardoned all those people, because they did nothing wrong, right? Nancy Pelosi's fault, she didn't do security. He wants to be able to rewrite the history books, and so that's his piece. I think the Republicans in the House don't want to do this, right? And I think that's what we're
Then why did they stand the committee up?
Oh, because they don't have a choice. They're not in charge. Okay, what do you think? Speaker Johnson gets to cosplay as Speaker when Trump lets him do it. Okay, when he's not out there saying Trump's an FBI informant. Boy, that was a fun little nugget. I have lots of questions about that. Like, how long was he an informant? Did he wear the same makeup? Like, did he change his voice? And why was he an informant? Was he there and then they turned him? Lots of questions about that. So, anyway, we'll have to see where this goes. I think what they're going to see is that we're prepared to do battle. And once we have one or two hearings, let's see if we have any others. Weaponization, which you were on and a part of, that didn't go well for them. They stopped having the hearings. And so let's see what the Speaker decides to do in this moment.
But to your point, this is an effort to normalize violence, right? And when you're trying to make Ashley Babbitt the hero, and Mike Fanone, Harry Dunn, Sergeant Goodell, the bad guys, Danny Hodges, the bad guys, you're trying to normalize violence, and we're not going to let that happen. We're going to make sure the American people know who the heroes are. We're going to make sure that memorial plaque that was signed into law is actually displayed, which they're refusing to display. We're going to make sure we understand what issues and symptoms the victims of January 6th still have that they need to be taken care of. And we're going to make sure we understand the role that social media played in this and what it can play, to your point, about a future effort to undermine the election.
And we're going to be on the offense, right? We can't just always be defending, right? You lose it. We're going to go on the offense. You see that from Democrats in committees now when Republicans open up that opportunity. That's right.
They literally couldn't care, the GOP, about anything that they actually ran on in the last election. Relitigating January 6th, trying to spin that narrative in your favor, this is what the Trump administration so much has been about, is just rewriting history. Donald Trump is trying to do it with Epstein right now. They want to do it with January 6th. They want to do it with not even history anymore. They want to rewrite the present as it's happening.
Right in our
Controlling
face.
facts, making them fiction, making them fan fiction for Donald Trump. And we got to call that out. Spread the truth. We're going to be doing...
Spread the truth. I agree with that. Let's see what I got next. Bear with me. Please hit the like button. Double tap your screen on your phone. I would greatly appreciate it. I'm up late tonight. I'm glad y'all hanging with me. before I get too far and I forget, let me see what they saying about that 83 million. Okay. Where at one point he wanted the taxpayers to pay for that for him. Oh, hold on. I guess it hasn't updated. He wanted us to pay his debt to messing with that lady. Defamation. Hold on. Let's see what this one says. Let's go.
Don Bacon has just come out and said it is unlikely that the signature is forged. You've been studying Trump's signature on letters that go back more than 20 years. So this issue of time and when something was signed is one you know well. You do believe the birthday book signature is legitimate.
Oh, yes, absolutely, Aaron. I mean, and Trump, of course, tonight is pushing back, as he always does. This is from the playbook of his former mentor, Roy Cohn, which is deny, 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 dispute, 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 and sue. However, if he takes this the whole way, and we know that this is legitimate, he will face a deposition under oath by the Wall Street Journal, not only just about the signature and the birthday book letter, but he'll also face questions about his relationship with Donald Trump. So I don't think at the end of the day it's a smart move to continue down this road, but you know, we'll see how far it goes.
All right, now as we were speaking here, just had a chance to print out and look at the non-prosecution agreement. One of the things just released by the committee. This is significant. This is the agreement between Alex Acosta, who ended up resigning in his role as Trump's labor secretary in his first administration over his role in Epstein, between him and Jeffrey Epstein, about when he had to register as a sex offender, and then people were not prosecuted. Okay. Few things stand out as you go through these. I guess let's start with one of the most important, which is, I saw this and was wondering what you thought about it, Barry. Yeah. In this deal between the U.S. government and Jeffrey Epstein, the sweetheart deal, the United States will provide Epstein's attorneys with a list of individuals whom it has identified as victims. It continues to say that Epstein's counsel may contact the identified individuals.
You know, this is so upsetting, Aaron, to see this now finally in print from these, you know, unredacted documents that have been released to the Oversight Committee from Jeffrey Epstein's estate. The fact of the matter is that Jeffrey Epstein agreed to the plea deal, which was a solicitation of a minor.
Yep.
Okay, we're talking about one victim. And from these documents, from these brand new documents that we're seeing now for the first time,
right,
the government is rolling over to Jeffrey Epstein, and they're providing him with a list of all the victims,
right,
which is absolutely unfair.
So we knew there was a whole list, right? And then he could go after them and threaten them or all sorts of things. I mean, I was shocked to see that you would be given a list.
And we do know that some of these victims were threatened. In fact, he was able, and his defense team was able to get ahead of the ball of possible lawsuits filed by the victims against him. They were able to attempt to dig up dirt on these children before they made any type of legal maneuvers against Jeffrey Epstein at the time. So this is wrong.
And one other crucial thing, you have focused so much on co-conspirators and what happened with that. And that is laid out in here that the United States will not have any criminal charges against any potential co-conspirators of Epstein. Any. Now, some of these names here listed are individuals that you have known their names before, but this says any potential co-conspirators.
Yeah, and what's significant here, of course, in these unredacted documents from the estate is that it specifically, we know the names of these 4 women who were identified by the Palm Beach police initially as co-conspirators. They were schedulers. They worked for Ghislaine Maxwell. These were women who actually talked to the girls and scheduled when they would be coming in and so forth. What's significant is that they are named here in black and white, and now I think it opens the door for the Oversight Committee to extend subpoenas to these women. And
because they are named.
Because they are named, yes.
Right, and they would know so much. Yes. That's crucial.
Now, while they possibly could come in under some type of immunity, it would be important to bring them in to fill in some of these pieces. And they would be speaking now for the first time under oath, if in fact the Oversight Committee goes that way. So we are seeing at the very beginning here tonight, bombshell information from these documents.
All right.
President Donald Trump swore he never drew a picture of a woman's torso for a book of occasionally bawdy letters celebrating Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday back in 2003. A book and drawing disclosed a few months ago, mid-July, but not shown by the Wall Street Journal. Quote, the Wall Street Journal printed a fake letter, Trump posted on social media back then. Here's some of what the president said when reporters asked him about this Wall Street Journal report.
I don't even know what they're talking about. Now, somebody could have written a letter and used my name, but that's happened a lot. I don't do drawings. I'm not a drawing person. I don't do drawings. Sometimes people say, would you draw a building, and I'll draw 4 lines and a little roof, for a charity stuff. But I'm not a drawing person.
President felt so strongly about it, he sued the Wall Street Journal and parent company News Corp for $10 billion, alleging defamation. Well, today, the Republican-led House Oversight Committee obtained that birthday book, included in documents from Jeffrey Epstein's estate that the committee subpoenaed. The Wall Street Journal obtained the picture. Here it is. It was also posted by Democrats on the Oversight Committee. The text reads, voiceover, there must be more to life than having everything. Donald. Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is. Jeffrey. Nor will I, since I also know what it is. Donald. We have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey. Yes, we do, come to think of it. Donald. Enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? Jeffrey. As a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you. Donald. A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. And it is signed Donald, and as the Journal wrote in July, the squiggly Donald signature is below her waist, which the Journal interpreted to be a mimic of pubic hair. A short time ago, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said this latest piece by the Wall Street Journal, quote, proves this entire birthday card story is false. Also on social media, White House aide Taylor Budowich says this is Trump's signature that you're looking at right now, but it's not the signature on that Wall Street Journal report, the piece of paper from the birthday book. However, if you look at the signature on from the birthday book, which is on the left side of your screen, and if you look at his signature on the right side of your screen, which is from an executive order in 2017, well, that looks pretty similar. Democratic Congressman Suhas Subramaniam of Virginia is on the House Oversight Committee and joins me now in studio. So this happened today. What has the committee received from the Epstein estate?
We've received a lot of documents like this. I think what we're trying to do is go through them all right now. We have our lawyers on our committee going through them. We're meeting tonight. And I think we're going to find more interesting things like this. But it's pretty amazing that even pretty early on into the review of these documents, we've catched the president in a lie already, right? And so I just want to know what the FBI has. What does the DOJ have? What are they withholding from us at this point? Because they've so far only selectively released documents. We want answers. That's the people want answers. That's what this is all about.
So we should note, just for fairness, 2003 when this birthday book was written, this is before Jeffrey Epstein had been arrested for anything having to do with his crimes.
Oh, it was while he was committing crimes, though. Let's be clear. He started at least in 1996, according to one victim.
Absolutely, although it's not clear who knew in 2003 about those crimes. The Wall Street Journal reports that the so-called birthday book from 2003 is among the documents the committee received, as you noted. This afternoon, the Journal published what it says is the contribution from Donald Trump. Trump has previously denied doing it. He sued the paper over its reporting earlier this summer. You have this? The committee has the birthday book and this drawing?
Yeah, we subpoenaed, the Democrats on the committee have been pushing and pushing and pushing to get answers, and only when they're backed into a corner have the Republicans in Congress or on the committee responded, and in this case, they agreed to subpoena the estate, right? So that's why we have this in the first place. We have a lot of other things too. So a lot of other people that we're subpoenaing to come in and actually talk to us, like Alex Acosta next week. I was pushing for that, and we're finally getting him. So I think the more we push the more we're getting answers. And that's what this is about. We want to make sure that no matter how powerful, how rich you are not above the law. You cannot run criminal enterprises like Jeffrey Epstein did. So that's why we're not going to stop pushing.
Alex Acosta, for those watching, was the U.S. attorney who, in 2007, 2008, allowed Jeffrey Epstein to enter into a real sweetheart deal for his disgusting crimes. Obviously, this is about much, much more than Donald Trump and whether or not he told the truth about this birthday book. It's about who participated in these crimes. In the whole birthday book, is there any, what can you tell us about who else contributed? Are there any allusions to anything, criminal or seedy?
Yeah, it's tough because, there's people who would sign a birthday book and there's people who participated in the crimes, right? So those might be separate. But just generally, I think we want to get, the more we have, the more information we get about Epstein's associates and their relationship with him and what they aided and abetted, I think the better the picture we have about what was going on. Remember, the FBI, I think, stopped a lot of their investigation when Epstein, killed himself in prison, right? And we have doubts that the FBI really did a thorough investigation to begin with. That was part of the problem. The victims, when we spoke to them, said that they've been let down over and over again by this government, whether it was FBI, whether it was DOJ and prosecutors. And so they're coming forward again, right? And so we don't want to let them down this time. We want to get to a place where people can trust this federal government and this Congress that we will actually get the truth.
You just referred to Epstein killing himself in prison. Are you confident that he did kill himself in prison and there was no other foul play?
No, I'm not confident. And again, the more information we get, the better. We have a lot more questions. I would say, though, that what I'm most interested in, though, is how he was able to operate this ring. Why was he given that sweetheart deal in 2007? And who was involved, including the president? And if there was Democrats involved, we need to know that, too. But we've been asking for answers for a while. I mean, even Deputy Wasserman Schultz in 2019, a Democrat, asked for the release of the files then and was ignored by the first Trump administration, while Alex Acosta was employed by that Trump administration. So we've been asking for answers for a long time, and I think people deserve the truth.
Right, Acosta was the Secretary of Labor until this scandal reopened after Julie K. Brown wrote a fantastic story for the Miami Herald and U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Berman arrested Epstein. Of the documents from the Epstein estate that the Oversight Committee got, you said you referred to other documents. Can you go into any more detail? I mean, are there business records indicating, this guy was a multi-millionaire and he had dealings with all these really wealthy people, none of whom have gotten in any sort of trouble, although anecdotally we've heard that there have been a lot of settlements paid to the victims. Any indication as to who some of these individuals are who might have actually been the people who are the rapists who were involved in the trafficking?
Yeah, again, we're going through them all, but I'll say there's address books, right? There's logs of people who visited. There's logs of business dealings. I'll say that this was someone, Jeffrey Epstein was someone, there's business, and then there was his friends, and then there was his crimes, right? A lot of that blurred together from time to time. Sometimes he would use his crimes as part of his business dealings to get business, right? Some of his friends, again, these were favors to his friends to bring them to commit these crimes. And so it's really important that we know all the business dealings he did. We know all the friends he had, right, including Donald Trump, and how close they were. And it'll help us get a picture of the crimes as well.
And good evening, I'm Erin Burnett, and out front tonight we begin with the breaking news of the infamous Jeffrey Epstein birthday book, the one with a letter bearing President Trump's name at the crude drawing. Now, this has now been made public, released by the Epstein estate to the House Oversight Committee. Now, so for the first time, we're actually seeing the letter. The Wall Street Journal had first reported on it, of course you remember. This is the letter Trump said doesn't exist, and he's still denying that he had anything to do with it. But let's show you it, because it's now on the screen, with the crude location of the signature. Several lines of typewritten text framed by the outline of a naked woman, which appears to be hand-drawn with a heavy marker. Trump's signature is a squiggly Donald right below her waist. The letter says, quote, "We have certain things in common, Jeffrey," and concludes, "Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." Now, the White House tonight is still claiming this letter is phony. The Deputy Chief of Staff for Communications posted on social media, and I quote, "Time for News Corp to open that checkbook. It's not his signature. Defamation." Now, the image that we're showing here is not from News Corp, which is the parent company of the Wall Street Journal. That's who Trump is suing, the organization, the company Trump is suing for publishing the existence of the letter. But this letter is not theirs. They are not the ones releasing it. This letter that you are looking at is coming from the House Oversight Committee, and it came directly from the Epstein estate. So whatever happened here, it isn't something the Wall Street Journal made up.
Right.
The Trump spokesman included examples of Trump's signature in his social media post, claiming that they do not match the one on the letter to Epstein.
I don't think my signature looks the same from 30 years ago. Do yours? I mean, really? What are we doing here, people? Let's look. These are different signatures at different times.
So we'll show you the signature side by side. On the left, one of the signatures released by the White House. On the right, the signature on Epstein letter. Now, the signatures are about 2 decades apart. Recently, I was shown one of my signatures from 20 years ago, and I did not recognize it. But look, we're not handwriting experts. We're just going to show you how these things look. One may be a thick Sharpie, which obscures any details in the signature. But if you want to go back in time to around the time that Trump, or that this letter that's in the birthday book went to Epstein, let's go back in time. Trump's signature is everywhere. So around the time of that, New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani sends a letter to him in 1996.
This is definitely the same
Trump says he's going to give a Presidential Medal of Freedom to now. So if you look at the signature there on the left, 7 years before the Epstein book was made,
that's
you
the
can
same
compare
signature.
those, they look pretty similar. And sure, that's just 2 signatures. We'll give you another one, though, a letter Trump said to George Conway. George Conway once was somebody Trump liked. Since then, obviously, the opposite. But back in 2006, Trump liked Conway.
That's the same signature.
He lived in Trump Tower. Trump thanked him for his work on the condo board. So the signature is on the left, and we can compare that again to the signature on the right from the Epstein letter, side by side.
That's the same
so
signature.
So let's put them all together. The Giuliani letter, the Conway letter, and the signature on the Epstein birthday book, and they do all appear to be pretty similar. Now, of course, signatures aside, Trump hasn't been accused of wrongdoing in connection with Epstein, but he has stood in the way of disclosing the Epstein documents and called the whole thing a hoax, even though more than 1,000 women say they are victims of Epstein and other men around him. So the House committee has obtained today more things from the Epstein estate. The last will and testament that Epstein had, 2007 non-prosecution agreement between Epstein and that U.S. Attorney's Office in South Florida. That is crucial. That is crucial. That is Acosta. Entries from Epstein's address and contact books, crucial, all the way from 1990 to 2019, and information about Epstein's known bank accounts. Now, these last 2 particularly important, but the last one could show who was helping finance Epstein's lifestyle, raising questions about what they knew. And I'm going to speak with Congressman Ro Khanna, who knows a lot more about all of these documents in just a moment, because he has a lot more information for us. Because there is more to come. The bipartisan group of staffers on the committee is going to be traveling to New York City later this week to meet with lawyers representing the estate and to view unredacted documents related to the investigation, which is crucial because the more people who see unredacted documents, the bigger likelihood that we all find out what's in them. Manu Raju is out front on Capitol Hill. And Manu, I know you are getting new information tonight. What are you learning?
Yeah, just moments ago, the House Oversight Committee actually just publicly released the 356 pages that were included from the Epstein estate that was sent over to the House panel today. That includes all those different categories that you were just referring to, including those contacts that Epstein apparently had over a certain time frame, as well as bank account information, as well as this prosecution, this agreement that was viewed as a really too lenient of a plea deal that he had reached back in 2007. All these details all are now been released by this committee. But what's getting a lot of attention, of course, here on Capitol Hill is the news that came out earlier today, of course, is that birthday book, the 50th birthday book that from 2003, in which there was included an apparent letter from Donald Trump to Epstein that you were referring to just moments ago. Now, the White House is denying that it is Donald Trump's signature on all of this. So they said that this is not Donald Trump, much different. I asked a lot of Republicans today if they believed what the White House was saying or if they plan to probe that issue further. Don't you want to learn more about Trump's relationship or friendship with Epstein?
No, I want to have Director Patel in next week where we'll ask him about all kinds of things. I haven't seen it. Don't buy it.
Do you think it's believable that someone came in and forged Donald Trump's signature and sent this letter to?
I think unlikely, but anything's possible.
Should they investigate Trump's relationship with Epstein too?
I think it's going to be every file. We're going to push for every file to be made open, and we'll go from there.
But as this investigation is ongoing, there is that legislative dispute that continues to roil the GOP here in the House. That is to force a vote to release all of the Epstein files. The Republicans who are trying to move this ahead need 6 signatures, 6 supporters on the GOP side to circumvent the House Republican leadership and get that bill on the floor. That bill, of course, by Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie, calling for the release of all those records. But Aaron, at this moment, there are still this short 2 Republican signatures in order to force that vote, meaning at the moment that bill will not come to the floor. Aaron.
All right, Manu, thank you very much. Out front. To get the birthday book released to the public, he is...
Yeah, just moments ago, the House Oversight Committee actually just publicly released the 356 pages that were included from the Epstein estate that was sent over to the House panel today. That includes all those different categories that you were just referring to, including those contacts that Epstein apparently had over a certain time frame, as well as bank account information, as well as this prosecution, this agreement that was viewed as a really too lenient of a plea deal that he had reached back in 2007. All these details all are now been released by this committee. But what's getting a lot of attention, of course, here on Capitol Hill is the news that came out earlier today, of course, of that birthday book, the 50th birthday book that from 2003, in which there was included an apparent letter from Donald Trump to Epstein that you were referring to just moments ago. Now, the White House is denying that it is Donald Trump's signature on all of this. So they said that this is not Donald Trump, much different. I asked a lot of Republicans today if they believed what the White House was saying or if they plan to probe that issue further. Don't you want to learn more about Trump's relationship or friendship with Epstein?
No, I want to have Director Patel in next week where we'll ask him about all kinds of things. I haven't seen it. Don't buy it.
Do you think it's believable that someone came in and forged Donald Trump's signature and sent this letter?
30 years
I think
ago.
unlikely, but anything's possible.
Should they investigate Trump's relationship with Epstein too?
I think it's going to be every file. We're going to push
However
for every
many
file to be
years.
made open, and we'll go from there.
But as this investigation is ongoing, there is that legislative dispute that continues to roil the GOP here in the House. That is to force a vote to release all of the Epstein files. The Republicans who are trying to move this ahead need 6 signatures, 6 supporters on the GOP side to circumvent the House Republican leadership and get that bill on the floor. That bill, of course, by Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie, calling for the release of all those records. But Aaron, at this moment, there are still this short 2 Republican signatures in order to force that vote, meaning at the moment that bill will not come to the floor. Aaron.
All right, Manu, thank you very much.
Please double tap the screen or hit the like button.
Committee. He has led the fight to get the birthday book released to the public. He is part of the bipartisan push, also with, of course, Congressman Massie, to get all of the Epstein documents released. And Congressman, I appreciate your time. So I know your committee is just getting all this new information from Epstein's estate. So beside the birthday letter, what's the most significant thing or significant revelation in all of this so far?
Well, candidly, the lawyers are still going through it. And they first looked for the birthday book. Obviously, they found the letter that the Wall Street Journal reported on. I think the Vice President Vance, should be asked to retract what he said, defaming the Wall Street Journal reporter. He said it was fake. But now we have the letter, and I also hope that the
and it definitely is not fake
against that journalist. $10 billion lawsuit now that there is the letter.
So, okay, on that front, you were the one who initially requested the Epstein birthday book, right? You requested that back in July, Congressman Khanna. And we all see it, I'll put it up here, signed with Trump's name. It says, "A Powell is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret," wrapped with a drawing of what appears to be a
Another
naked
wonderful
woman.
secret. Another wonderful secret. Another wonderful secret.
The signature falling in, obviously, a significant spot there. So Trump has vehemently denied the letter, and the White House press secretary says it's very clear President Trump did not draw this picture, and he did not sign it. So when it comes to withdrawing that defamation lawsuit, as you were saying, it looks like they're tripling down. I mean, do you have any reason to doubt, after getting this from the Epstein estate, that that is Trump's signature, Trump's drawing?
There's no reason for us to doubt it. The Wall Street Journal reported that they believe it is Donald Trump's signature. And the sad thing here is that this is hurting the survivors. I just heard from the survivors' lawyer. Many of them bravely told their stories. And they find that every time that President Trump attacks things as a hoax or as false, it's really disrespecting them. No one really cares about the details of the letter. Yes, it's crude and it's unfortunate. The bigger issue is the transparency and justice for the survivors. And I wish President Trump would just listen to the survivors. I wish he would.
He don't care.
That's what
he
they've
bought
asked for.
a lady for $22,000.
Of the full files,
He don't
like
care.
he promised the American people. This is
He's
not
a predator.
against him.
He's a predator. Predators don't care.
To protect America's children and to stand with our survivors.
They have no empathy.
Right, the whole justice for those who knew or participated. And then you meet with the survivors. I know Nancy Mace, your colleague, said, when she did, you got to defend what's right here. There's a right and there's a wrong. I know you got bank records from Epstein's estate. In those records, and again, I know lawyers are combing through it, but do you believe it's going to reveal the names of people who were giving Epstein money?
I do. I believe that there's a lot to uncover in terms of how Epstein was getting this money. Was it dirty money? Or was it foreign money? What was the motive of the money that was given to Epstein? Did people know that Epstein was abusing underage girls while providing him that money? All of these things need to be answered. This is a beginning of it, but it's not sufficient. As the victim's lawyer said, Bradley Edwards said, we need documents from Treasury, we need documents from the CIA, we need documents from the FBI. The Justice Department has all of these files, and that's why we're calling for full transparency. And that's what Massey and my bill does, which we now have 218 signatures on it by September 23rd, and 7 days later it will force a vote in the House of Representatives.
All right, so just explain that again, because I know there are some who say you don't quite have the votes, that this effort of yours and Congressman Massey, bipartisan, is not going to go anywhere. But you say no, you've got the numbers and you've got the math, and it's going to happen?
We do have the numbers. First of all, I want to recognize Congressman Massey's courage, but also Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene's courage, Congresswoman Lauren Boebert's courage, Congresswoman Nancy Mace's courage. Congresswoman Nancy Mace was so shaken after talking to the victims, because she's a survivor herself. She has signed this. That's 4 Republicans, all current 212 Democrats are signing it. Congressman Swalwell had lost someone in his family. He's going to sign it this week. That gets us to 216. There are 2 vacant seats, one in Arizona and one in Virginia. Both of them are going to be filled by September 23rd, and both of those candidates have said they're going to sign the discharge petition. That gets us to 218, and that will trigger a vote 1 week later in the House of Representatives.
So now that you've laid that out, Congressman, obviously it's a very significant development. I do want to ask you about one more thing, though, because your committee has just posted another letter that references Trump. And here's what it is, written by a longtime Mar-a-Lago member. And it makes a crude joke about a woman that Trump and Epstein socialized with back in the 1990s. I'll show it to everybody. The note shows this photo. And in the photo, Epstein's holding a big check. The check is mocked up to say that it is from Trump to Epstein. And then there's a handwritten note below, which is not written by Trump. But the note jokes about selling a, quote, fully depreciated woman for $22,500. Now, the woman's name is redacted, and obviously it's unclear whether Trump knew anything about this. But, Congressman, this is just coming out. I mean, what do you know about this, and do you think that Trump is trying to hide things like this?
That's just disgusting. Anyone who cares about the dignity of women in America.
Think that Trump is trying to hide things like this?
That's just disgusting. Anyone who cares about the dignity of women in America should just be disgusted by the crudeness of this. You know, one of the things, Aaron, that really hit me after the press conference, I got so many notes, emails, texts from women across this country saying, you know, I was raped 30 years ago. I was assaulted. I had this happen to me. And I was genuinely moved. We have a culture of dehumanizing women in America.
Facts.
We have a culture of not treating people who are survivors with respect. And that's got to change. And if there's one thing that I hope this conversation triggers around America is how do we respect women more and how do we honor people who have faced assault and survivors more. That's really what this is about.
Validate
and I hope it's a
the
wake-up call
victims.
for the culture in our country that's allowing this kind of behavior. And where people are saying we're rich, people are saying you can be, if you're rich and if you have political connections, you can take advantage of young girls. It's not just Epstein. There's a broader problem in this country that we need to address.
True.
Congressman Khanna, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Barry Levine is here with me now, author of The Spider Inside the Criminal Web of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. So, Barry, on the signature, obviously, Trump's press secretary is denying it, right? They're pushing ahead, they say, with defamation, saying Trump didn't draw the picture, Trump didn't sign it. Interestingly, Republican Congressman Don Bacon has just come out and said it is unlikely that the signature is forged. You've been studying Trump's signature on letters that go back more than 20 years. So this issue of time and when something was signed is one you know well. You do believe the birthday book signature is legitimate.
Oh, yes, absolutely, Aaron. I mean, and Trump, of course, tonight is pushing back, as he always does. This is from the playbook of his former mentor, Roy Cohn.
Okay, let me see what else I got. Let me see my last one.
Dispute and sue.
For
However,
tonight.
if he takes this the whole way, and we know that this...
Bear with me.
Machine, or at the time 30 years ago.
Not this one. Dang, I need to watch this one.
In a ruling issued this Monday, the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals rejecting President Trump's appeal of the Defamation Award, finding that the jury's damages awards are fair and reasonable. Come back to Live Now from Fox. Take a look at your screen. The Associated Press reporting on this Monday, breaking. The appeals court upholding the 83.3... 12:09 here on the East Coast. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. Take a look at your screen. The Associated Press reporting on this Monday, breaking. The appeals court upholding the $83.3 million defamation judgment that Ejon Carroll won from President Donald Trump. As we are learning about this breaking news, I want to provide more perspective on this story. In a ruling issued this Monday, the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals rejecting President Trump's appeal of the Defamation Award, finding that the jury's damages awards are fair and reasonable. AP goes on to report that President Trump had argued that he should not have to pay the sum as a result of a Supreme Court decision expanding presidential immunity. His lawyers did ask for a new trial. A civil jury in Manhattan issuing the $88.3 million award last year following a trial that centered on Trump's repeated social media attacks against Carroll over her claims that he sexually assaulted her in a Manhattan department store back in 1996. Now, that award followed a separate trial in which Trump was found liable for sexually abusing Carroll in order to pay $5 million. That award was upheld by an appeals court last December. In a memoir and again at a 2023 trial, Carroll described how a chance encounter with Trump at Bergdorf Goodman's Fifth Avenue in 1996 started with the two flirting as they shopped. Then in a memoir and again at a 2023 trial, Carroll described how a chance encounter with Trump at Bergdorf Goodman's Fifth Avenue in 1996 started with the two flirting as they shopped, then ended with a violent encounter, as Carroll says. It happened there in that department store with a violent struggle inside of a dressing room. Carroll saying that the now President Trump slammed her against a dressing room wall, pulled...
Oh my goodness, it went from flirting to violence? Flirting to violence, slamming her against a dressing room wall. Oh my. Flirting to slanging her against the bed, dressing room wall. And he thought that the U.S. should pay this $83 million verdict against him.
Against a dressing room wall, pulled down her tights, and forced himself on her.
Oh, wow.
A jury dressing room wall, pulled down her tights, and forced her in that department store with a violent struggle inside of a dressing room. Carroll saying that the now President Trump slammed her against a dressing room wall, pulled down her tights, and forced himself
allegedly.
on her.
This
A
was
jury
a
did
lawsuit.
find Trump liable for sexual assault, but concluded he had not committed rape as defined under New York law. President Trump repeatedly denied that the encounter took place and accusing Carroll of making it up to help sell her book. He also said that Carroll was, quote, not my type. The 2023 jury awarded Carroll $5 million to compensate her for both the alleged attack and statements that Trump made denying that it ever happened. After that first verdict, the court held a second trial with a new jury for the purpose of deciding damages for additional statements Trump made attacking Carroll's character and truthfulness. President Trump has skipped that first civil trial, but he attended the second, which took place as he was running for president in 2024. Speaking to reporters throughout the trial, Trump portrayed the lawsuit as part of a broader effort to smear him and prevent him from regaining the White House. His lawyers did complain, saying that the judge, in setting rules for the second damages trial, had barred Trump and his defense team from claiming in front of the jury that he was innocent of the attack. The judge ruling that the issue had been settled by the first jury and did not need to be revisited. So a lot we are following as it relates to this breaking news this Monday. Again, take a look at your screen as the Associated Press does report that an appeals court did uphold E. John Carroll's $83.3 million defamation judgment against President Donald Trump. Of course, this is a developing story. We have you covered with the latest and most accurate information here on Live Now from Fox.
Wow. And it's upheld. Oh, my goodness. Are y'all still with me? Can y'all hear? Are y'all with me? Can I get a 1 if y'all can still hear me? Hello? I want to go one more, but I want to make sure I'm not here by myself. What is this one? Is this the one I want to?
The Epstein letter has. We
Are
are coming
y'all
off
still
of
with
a
me?
bonker segment, if you're wondering why I'm laughing. Serious subject, but it's not about that. It has sparked total chaos at the White House. So you remember that the Wall Street Journal published this letter that Trump wrote to Epstein on Epstein's 50th birthday. It was a part of this big book of letters and photos from all of Epstein's friends that Ghislaine Maxwell put together. And in it, Trump drew a picture of a woman or a woman-like figure,
Silhouette.
and then wrote in it this poem about how, ooh, we have life's a wonderful secret, Jeffrey, and then sign his name. And Trump said, they haven't shown the letter's fake, there it is, and I never wrote that. And then Congress obtained the letter.
He said it didn't exist.
Which again, this is not proof of a crime. This is not teaching us anything we didn't know already. It's just substantiating they were really good friends and creeps. And the White House has not just let it stand as that. They have to double down in complete panic. And they're going full court press on the message that this is a fake letter. Now, we'll talk about why that's so absurd, but let's just start going through some examples because we do have a lot. And then I'll tell you about what else we know about this book that we now have access to, the birthday book. But here's first Levitt responding.
Thank you. I want to follow up on something you said. You said the Epstein documents are a hoax that Democrats are perpetrating against the president. You said he didn't sign that check, that he didn't sign the birthday card that he allegedly signed. So what is the theory, since these documents came from the Epstein estate? Who is, I guess in your view, faking these documents?
I did not say the documents are a hoax. I said the entire narrative surrounding Jeffrey Epstein right now that is absorbing many of the liberal cable channels on television is a hoax that is being perpetuated by opportunistic Democrats like Ro Khanna and the others whom you saw on that press conference outside of Capitol Hill, who are trying to push this hoax against the president.
So we're supposed to believe Marjorie Taylor Greene is a part of a Democratic hoax against Trump, because she's one of the loudest people on this issue, to her credit, which feels weird to say.
Kiss my ass.
But they never, hey, I'm being nice to you. Maybe that was directed at Levitt. But they never just acknowledge, if you think, oh, the documents aren't a hoax, the victims aren't a hoax, but the situation, the Democratic usage of the subject is a hoax, then end the hoax. Release everything that you have. Hoax over. That's the suspicious part, is that you won't, despite even Republicans calling for it, and Trump losing it, both when he gets asked about this, him saying this is a dead issue, like Bill Gates saying, well, Epstein's dead. Do we have that soundbite somewhere? Maybe you can find it. I think you have it somewhere.
Well, he's dead, so...
Yeah. Trump's saying that essentially. He's dead. It's a dead issue. Epstein's dead. The orange blob got him. And then he's calling
and
up,
he died on my watch.
Republicans who are daring to support this discharge petition to force the release by the White House, and saying it's a hostile act if you do this. So, whatever. Say what you want about Democrats this, Democrats that. Number one, it's not just Democrats, and number two, it is Trump's behavior that has even caused Democrats to be so suspicious. And I'll talk about that more in a second. But White House officials on Tuesday doubled down on their assertion that a sexually suggestive letter carrying what appeared to be Donald Trump's signature that was included in a birthday book for convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein had not been signed by the president. We're supposed to believe that this book was put together, dozens and dozens of pages of all these people, and what?
And his best friend wasn't in the book.
I don't even know how they say back then they faked it, so they could have it in case, or someone faked it back then, or that they faked it now, but the Wall Street Journal came up with it, but then the Epstein estate substantiated it, all in a big twisted lie. A little bit confusing. But let's talk about some of what was in the book. You do have a photo like this, which is a Mar-a-Lago member holding a check. And the letter writes, Jeffrey showing early talents with money plus women sells fully depreciated to Donald Trump for $22,000, $22,500. Read the letter published by the Wall Street Journal. Showed early people skills too, even though I handled the deal. I didn't get any of the money on the girl. So it's being described as the member pretending like Epstein's buying a girl from Trump. That's in the book. But Trump's saying, that wasn't me. The member was doing that as a joke about me or something. Then you have this. We don't know who sketched this in the birthday book, but it's presumably Epstein in 1983.
Oh, wow. Oh. In 1983. Airplane. Bringing over little kids. Oh my God. This was in the birthday book. This was in the birthday book. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Let's go.
It says it's a photo handing balloons and a popsicle to little girls. And then in 2003, presumably those same girls are giving him a massage, and tattooed on one of their butts is J.E., Jeffrey Epstein, and it's written, "What a great country." So grooming girls is a great country. But we don't know who wrote that. Then you have Peter Mandelson, a former British politician who is now UK ambassador in Washington, also appears to have signed a letter with a photo of Epstein's private island with the caption, "One of his glorious houses he likes to share with his friends, yum yum." With that photo attached. Yum yum. And then MAGA will go, "Well, what about Bill Clinton?" Yes, Bill Clinton did write.
Oh, wow.
One of his glorious houses he likes to share with his friends, yum yum. With that photo attached. Yum yum.
Yum, yum.
And then MAGA will go, "Well, what about Bill Clinton?" Yes, Bill Clinton did write a letter. There was no mentions of wonderful secrets, but he did write a letter, we will talk about it, saying, "It's just reassuring, isn't it, to have lasted as long across all the years of learning and knowing, adventures and intelligible words, and also to have your childlike curiosity, the drive to make a difference, and the solace of friends," a Clinton spokesperson said in 2019 while Epstein was still alive, that the former president knew nothing about the terrible crimes, blah, 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 blah. The big difference, because a lot of times MAGA will go, "You're talking about Trump, what about Bill Clinton? The Democrats don't want to talk about that." And it's like, wait, no. The Democrats are unanimously saying, release everything. Literally, in Congress, they're going, release everything. So if there's anything damning about Clinton, release it. Y'all aren't saying that. That's the difference. J.D. Vance is still, despite his previous claim being this can't be legitimate, the salacious letter, maybe because we're talking about it so much. Can you pull it back up, Jaden? And
What the hell happened to JD?
Jaden. We can go ahead and read it. But can you see that? Can you read it? Here we go. So again, it's for podcast listeners, an image, a little sketch drawing of a womanish figure, and it goes voiceover. "There must be more life than having everything." Donald says, "Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is." Jeffrey says, "Nor will I." He says, "I also know what it is." Donald says, "We have certain things in common, Jeffrey." Jeffrey says, "Yes, we do. Come to think of it." Donald says, "Enigmas never age. Have you noticed that?" And Jeffrey says, "As a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you." Donald says, "A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." And people are taking from that different meanings, but I do want to be as accurate in my discussion of this as possible. As I've already said, this does make you go, what else? Because why would you, we already knew you were pals, and you were we have a video of you hanging around, pointing at people, and this is just another example of that. But they're acting like this would be the thing that proves it all, which then makes you even more sus. But J.D. Vance previously said, "They didn't show us the letter, so how could it be real?" Well, now we have it, and this is what he's saying. Now, the Democrats don't care about Epstein. They don't even care about his victims. That's why they were silent about it for years. The only thing they care about is concocting another fake scandal like Russiagate to smear President Trump with lies. No one's falling for this BS. Again, I think, I've said before, it is one of the more fair arguments, because most of the ones they bring out are really weak, to say, wait, if Democrats care a lot about this, why weren't they pushing for more transparency during the Biden years? Now, fair to bring that up. Different explanations. Part of it is, I think a lot of Democrats, and, you know, me as an example, I would have gone in the past, all right, MAGA's talking a lot about how more stuff needs to be released. I'm thinking maybe there's still ongoing investigations, or maybe something will come of it. I obviously trusted, not completely, but that government more than I would trust the Trump government. And there wasn't this proclamation that it all had been concluded, right? So you're thinking, yeah, of course, if you could have more information and seek more justice, let's do it. But there wasn't a movement, because there was this assumption that maybe there's more being sought. I know there's still an investigation going on Prince Andrew. And then one day, once that all concludes, maybe we'll know more. It wasn't until the Trump administration came out and said, it's all zip-zap done, tied with a bow. And then the FBI dropped the Prince Andrew investigation completely. And then people went, oh, wait, there's nothing else? So I think that was, people assumed maybe there's something going on in the background. Whereas then there was this official, it's closed announcement under the Trump DOJ, which set off this series of events. So that answers that question a little bit, but it's fair to say, hey, Biden should have pushed more for this. Fine. I think that's totally fine to say. Trump's behavior and the suspicion around it is really what sparked this saga, though. And it was a Trump campaign topic. It just was.
But a lot of big people went to that island.
There's a reason Chevy is called the heartbeat of America. It's in the pulse of those who never stop.
But fortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be.
And this was, of course, the episode where he was baked out of his gourd, apparently. It was interesting.
By the way, probably.
So if you were able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy's interesting because it's so many years ago. You know, they do that for danger, too, because, you know, it endangers certain people, et cetera, et cetera. So Kennedy is very different from the Epstein thing. But yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
I'd have no problem with it. It starting to sound a little bit like Joe Biden. I have no problem with it. So the other argument was that this is nothing like Trump's signature on the letter. Because it, instead of going, it goes, and, but you have all these other examples of times he's done that shortened signature, which makes sense. I think it would be kind of weird to sign a letter to your buddy.
It is most definitely the same signature.
Someone we later learned was a notorious sex trafficker, but your best pal. It's weird to sign a letter to them like Luke Beasley. You know what I mean? Like if I signed a letter to Jade, Luke Beasley, rather than Luke. And so with him, Donald, right? Maybe in more casual settings, but you have all these other examples of this thing. So that argument, if this looks nothing like his signature, is a silly one. Matt Gaetz jumped in saying they continue to lie about President Trump, to which the internet said, hey Matt, sit this one out. Let's just sit this one out. Molly Knight said, what a humiliating way for Don Jr. to find out his dad sends birthday cards. Oh no. And then watching these Republicans respond.
Lisa.
Why? Just because Trump's gonna keep lying, you don't have to. You can go, hey, it's obviously a real letter and it doesn't prove any criminality. Bye-bye. Now how you then go, and also I'm not gonna support the discharge petition to force the release of the documents. I don't know how you defend that. Insane. But at least the letter itself, them all going to the mat over this is a little confusing.
Don't you want to learn more about Trump's relationship or friendship with Epstein?
No, I want to have Director Patel in next week where we'll ask him about all kinds of things. I haven't seen it. Don't buy it.
I haven't seen it. I don't buy it. I haven't even seen the letter. And I don't buy it. It's like me. I've barely kept up with this UAP stuff, but I don't buy it. Or I do buy it. I just don't need to know. Then you have Don Bacon here. Let's see.
Don't you want to learn more about Trump's relationship or friendship with Epstein?
No, I want to have Director Patel in next week where we'll ask him about all kinds of things. I haven't seen it. Don't buy it.
Do you think it's believable that someone came in and forged Donald Trump's signature and sent this letter to...
I think unlikely, but anything's possible.
Should they investigate Trump's relationship with Epstein too?
I think it's going to be every file. We're going to push for every file to be made open, and we'll go.
Right, so it's not even about just everything. Every rational person went, like I said about the Biden era, a lot of people who don't have, like, you should always have skepticism of the government, but not the heightened everything's conspiratorial about the government, went, I don't know, it's such a big operation. If there's a bombshell about somebody else, eventually a prosecutor will bring a case. Hopefully. And let's wait. Then I've talked to people who are not super political, but who they started off thinking Trump was friends with Epstein, but never did a single thing bad. Just happened to be friends because they were both wealthy and powerful, then found out and left. And then it was only Trump's behavior surrounding this that made them go, all right, there's something he's covering for. And so we don't even have to investigate their friendship more, investigate anything more. We just, any of the documents. The fear, though, with how much Trump is talking about the Biden administration manipulating documents, he projects so much, you're sort of like, are you going to manipulate documents? And then you hear the words of all the redactions that are happening, that are redacting his name. And then as time goes on, I think our belief that whatever his release will be completely legitimate gets a little bit diminished. Did I already ask people to subscribe in this segment? Please do. We have a lot more. I want to show you Eric Trump here in a second, but subscribe on YouTube. It's free. And then if you want to support this show, you have the join button. That's membership. And then if you want to support my family business, PEP, energy drink that removes the nasty chemicals, and I call it poison. Maybe that's not the technical word, but
He tried to walk it back. The news story.
I know that this was not my dad because he's never, that removes the nasty, because he's never written a birthday card, as that person posted. No, that's not what he said.
No. But you know, it's something also, beyond all this stuff, the news story today is that this stupid drawing, that your dad allegedly gave to Epstein. And you and I actually were sitting around joking about this a while back when it first came out. We were like, this is the most absurd stuff in the world. But Mike Johnson is like walking back. Last week he said, he was an FBI asset in the whole prosecution of this. Then he tried to walk it back. So this is like the dumbest thing in the world.
Why? Why is that the premise? By the way, that was the question to Eric Trump. Eric Trump, son of the president, going on to speak on his behalf. That's the question. This is like the dumbest thing ever. Question mark.
Asset in the whole prosecution of this. Then he tried to walk it back. So this is like the dumbest thing in the world.
I can tell you my father does not sketch out cartoon drawings. I mean, it's insane. Not to mention Epstein's lawyer said he asked specifically about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump never once came up, and there was no correlation. And it's ironic, given that my father was the very guy that threw him out of the club because he thought he was a scumbag. My father's intuition was actually incredibly...
Yeah, well, Trump told a different story as to why he threw him out. and then like 3 different stories after that. Ron Filikowski says, because Eric Trump spent so much time with his dad growing up that he knows his predilections. We're all very convinced that Eric was right by his side to know what his dad did and didn't do. This is interesting. Eric Trump is preemptively saying that I guess his book won't be a New York Times bestseller because the New York Times will put the finger on the scale.
But I mean, listen, they've tried everything.
Documents released by the House Oversight Committee contained a photo of Jeffrey Epstein holding an oversized check that was made out to him in the check from the president for $22,000 for a fully depreciated woman. I wondered if the president has any recollection of that, or what do you guys make of that photo that was included in those documents?
Did you see the signature on that check? It is not Donald Trump's signature. It is absolutely not. The president did not sign that check.
Well, that was both very defensive and very much a lie on its face. So as not to bury the lead here, let's take a look at the whole history of Trump's signatures. If you're going to claim that the signature at the top left doesn't look like literally every other signature on that page, then you are either a liar or an idiot. In the case of Caroline Leavitt, take your pick. I mean, I'm sorry, but I couldn't imagine that signature looking any more like this signature. I'm not sure what mental gymnastics you have to do to convince yourself otherwise, which exposes the con of the GOP, because even though this scheme is so blatantly transparent, you've still got the usual mouthpieces pretending, literally pretending, that what we can all see with our own eyes is somehow not real. Charlie Kirk wrote, "Does the below from the Wall Street Journal look like the actual signature from the president? I don't think so at all. Fake." Benny Johnson wrote, "The Wall Street Journal just released the letter they claim President Trump sent to Epstein. Is this really the best they could do? Trump has the most famous signature in the world. Time to sue them into oblivion." Again, if the goal is to convince us that these two images are not the same, then you're either lying to us or lying to yourself. Either way, not great. But things continue to devolve for Caroline Leavitt here.
What exactly is the hoax? I'm just trying to understand what's fake. What's fake is not the documents.
The hoax is the Democrats pretending to care about victims of crime when they do not care about victims of crime, when they have done nothing to solve crimes, when they have done nothing to lock up child pedophiles and child rapists across the country, and when they are now using victims as political props to try and, again, smear the president of the United States and drag on this bad story about him. It is a distraction. The Democrats view this story as nothing more than an attempt to distract from the accomplishments and the achievements of this administration. And that is what we mean when we call it a hoax.
First of all, it's always amazing watching these Trump whispers translate what the president means when he descends into his rambling screeds. The fact that we need a whisper to translate the words of an almost 80-year-old man is already disqualifying unto itself. To be clear, Donald Trump did not mean that the hoax is that Democrats weren't adequately concerned about Epstein before. That doesn't make any sense, and it's clearly not what Trump meant. What Trump meant
I
is
need
that it
20
reflects
likes, please.
really poorly on him, and so it's not real. That's what that meant. And you don't have to take my word for it. Here is Trump quite literally admitting exactly that.
You said this was all a hoax. Has your attorney general told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you
No,
seen
it's
of
not
that?
the Attorney General. No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier that turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, that was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work. The Democrats are good for nothing other than these hoaxes. They're bad for policy. They're bad for picking candidates that can get elected. Like in New York, we have a communist running. He may get elected too, actually, but he'll destroy the city.
A convicted felon.
I call it the Epstein hoax. It takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements, we've had a great gentleman. Yesterday, as you know, went on CNBC and he made the statement that Trump may go down as the greatest president of all in the United States. And instead of talking about the things we've achieved, we've had tremendous achievement. They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy the best we've ever had, and all of the things we've done, including in the Middle East. I mean, you see it. Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people.
So it's very nice of Caroline Levitt to spin his...
It starts with this. It can replace these here, here, and also here.
So it's very nice of Caroline Levitt to spin his very clear comments into something more convenient, but all the polish in the world is not going to fix that turd. The reality is that Donald Trump thinks his supporters are morons, and he wants to convince them that the thing he himself campaigned on isn't real because, again, if it is real, then its connection to him hurts him. He can't have that, and so he's in the process of convincing his base that it's all a figment of our imagination cooked up by those manipulative Democrats to hurt dear leader Donald Trump, even though this is what we saw on the campaign trail.
A lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you were able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy's interesting because it's so many years ago. You know, they do that for danger, too, because, you know, it endangers certain people, et cetera, et cetera. So Kennedy is very different from the Epstein thing. But, yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
Bill Clinton.
Nice guy. Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein.
You raised
Oh, he was fat.
Epstein in your remarks about in the Q&A.
Well, I think he's got a problem. I mean,
What do you think the problem will be?
I don't
Is
know,
that
but
Trump? He was swole, wasn't he? Oh my goodness. Is that Trump? My goodness, he looked like Pillsbury Doughboy. Oh my goodness. What was going on?
Bill Clinton.
Nice guy. Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein.
You raised the question of Jeffrey Epstein in your remarks about in the Q&A.
Well, I think he's got a problem. I mean,
What do you think the problem will be?
I don't know, but that island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew. He'll tell you about it. The island was an absolute cesspool.
And worse yet, he also filled his cabinet with people who said the exact same thing.
Everybody in politics has a vice that's much worse than alcoholism, is the way that I put it. But we
Release the list.
seriously, we need to release the Epstein list. That is an important thing.
Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list.
Folks, please keep your eye on this case. I can't emphasize to you enough. This Epstein thing is there's more than meets the eye there. I know a lot of people want to make this thing go away. There is absolutely no way that the now CIA director, Catherine Rumler, and everyone else didn't know they were talking to a sex offender. The question is, why were they talking to him, and what were they trying to make go away? Does it have anything
So how does it feel now
video network
to know that you're working for one as well?
So was it a hoax when Trump was talking about it to pander to voters? How about
Right.
Cash Patel, Dan Bongino, Don Jr., J.D. Vance, Pam Bondi? They all can pretend that it's a hoax now because they've extracted the votes out of their rooms.
But how do they feel now to know that they are working for a predator?
Is to protect the God King, but all they're doing is torching their credibility and proving the lengths that they're willing to go to engage in a cover-up of a pedophile ring. The Republicans, led by Trump and amplified by people like Caroline Levitt, are showing you exactly where their priorities lie. It's not with the victims, it's not with the truth, it is with the guy who committed unspeakable crimes and protecting the men who participated.
Ooh-wee.
Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and...
Wait a minute, y'all. What does this one say? Y'all, please hit the like button. Please, please, please. Let's hear this one.
Protesters outside the White House with a banner confronting Donald Trump for his word. They're saying not a hoax because the evidence has rebutted, confronted, and really debunked some of Donald Trump's claims about these Epstein files, which he is in, including allegedly the card that now has been released by the Epstein estate. This card is all the way back from 2003. It is exactly what the Wall Street Journal said it was, which undercuts Trump's denials. And it went from the Epstein estate to the House Oversight Committee, and you can see the drawing and the poem or inscription, which we've read before.
Where are you from, Richard
That the
09?
man who signed this card, Donald J. Trump, knew all about what Epstein was up to. The White House continues to deny that this card is from Trump, a denial that obviously is contradicted by the evidence from the Epstein estate. They have been holding on to this thing along with other documents. They handed it over under subpoena. No one has come
Richard
through with any kind of
09 Abel, where are you from?
explain what this is, if not what Donald Trump gave to the Epstein then household, now estate. And this morning, Trump just announced he doesn't see this as a live issue anymore. None of this type of denial is working.
If he didn't sign these, if you said he didn't sign the birthday card, he didn't do this, he also didn't do the check, those were in documents from the estate. So what is the working theory as to why he's in the
Epstein case? Would the White House support a professional handwriting expert review of the document released yesterday?
One of the other documents released by the House Oversight Committee contained a photo of Jeffrey Epstein holding an oversized check.
Does the president, will he meet with the victims?
On and on it went like that.
Oh, wow.
As we saw there, we're showing you the journalists with all these questions, not necessarily the answers, some of which were not newsworthy or don't pass sort of our standards review for the facts. Because Donald Trump has no good answer to this. He just sued the Wall Street Journal, and he denies it. But, of course, we have the hard evidence from the Epstein estate. And Republicans don't know what to say.
Look up this birthday card to see if it's legit or not. The president says it's not. I take the president's word.
Clearly, the birthday note from President Trump is a fallacy. This was just a disgusting human being that I don't think anybody that ever wrote him a card letter for a 50th birthday. I think it's just a foolish red herring that people are trying to look at for political divisiveness.
Do you think the Trump birthday note to Epstein is real?
I don't. They say it's not.
They say it's not.
The question is not whether people think it's real, because people in politics can deny anything they don't want to deal with. The question is about the veracity of the evidence, something we've reported on for you, that it came from the Epstein estate under subpoena by independent executors under the color of law. You can get in a lot of trouble for tampering with that type of evidence, and there's no rationale. No one's put forward a motive for why someone, the lawyer or executor of this estate, would take those risks, nor any evidence of that happening. So the real question is, why did Donald Trump know so much about Jeffrey Epstein's scurrilous activities, whether they've been convicted or not at that point all the way in 2003? How many people, Donald Trump included, around Epstein, knew about his activities or his outright pedophilia and sex trafficking and either looked the other way or didn't mind or made jokes about it, at a minimum? That's before you get to the question of whether the Donald Trump administration in the first and second term has committed malfeasance or worse with regard to the case. And some Republicans have joined the Democrats on this push to get even more evidence. Here's one MAGA podcaster.
Yeah, it's not more people covering it. He just has to do one thing. Stop calling it a hoax. Agree. Stop, trolling this topic because you're turning your own team against you.
That's your own team saying stop turning you against them, right? Now, there was also a photo of Epstein holding this kind of novelty check that they joked or suggested with some sort of payment. Of course, it's a novelty giant check. Looks more like hijinks than the actual changing hands of money. The Wall Street Journal reports that the man there is a Mar-a-Lago member, Joel Pasco. The note reads, Jeffrey showing early talents with money and women, sells fully depreciated, a name is redacted, to Trump for $22,500. Now, the image also released from the Epstein birthday book, you see this cartoon of Epstein giving balloons and other assortments to what are clear to be children. Those are girls, 1983. And then flash forward 20 years, and there they are as cartoon images, multiple people, semi-nude, massaging him, and you see the inscription, "What a great country." The point isn't to get into all the prurient back and forth.
The point is that a large part of the denials from Donald Trump and other elites was that no one knew this was going on, and later when they found out, they made changes. That's been one of the cover stories. That is detonated by some of the details in the book. And as we've been careful to point out, someone's link or socializing with this now deceased sex trafficker does not automatically mean they were doing any convictable crimes. But it does detonate and explode many of the defenses that said people didn't know what was going on, just as Donald Trump's birthday card, which is strong evidence that undermines his case against the Journal, suggests that he was well aware that Epstein had all these sort of activities and all these references to things being young and staying secret. Meanwhile, Democrats are on offense.
They were boys.
They were boys.
Like no question about it.
If Republicans don't want to engage in a cover-up of pedophilia and this pedophilia ring, they should go sign this discharge petition.
The Epstein saga is perhaps the nastiest example of a trend that infects his entire presidency.
This idea that he wasn't close to him is crazy, but I do think that it's going to be so important for us to really dig in.
All of those are fair questions. There's also word that a bipartisan group of congressional investigators want to meet with Epstein's estate lawyers tomorrow. And remember, a lot of this got kicked up and escalated and elevated by people who claimed they wanted to get to the bottom of the Epstein scandal. Those people at one time included Donald Trump as a candidate, his Attorney General Pam Bondi, Mike Johnson, who you saw there saying he doesn't believe anything, he's not interested, the president now saying it's a dead issue. That is a tell. Doesn't mean they were all part of the crime circuit, but it does suggest that when they said they wanted to get to the bottom of this with evidence and the truth, they were lying. And now that there's opportunities to do so, that they are in power, that there are subpoenas that can be used and documents that the DOJ has under the control of Donald Trump, that they don't want that material out. So that raises the big questions. Why are they so scared for people to know that they knew what Epstein was like, some of what he was up to all the way back in 2003? Why don't they want people to know what Maxwell was involved with? Why are they giving her leniency here in the second term? These questions are not going away. They are only escalating. And it is one of the few issues where there is some bipartisanship with Democrats and some Republicans to push on. That apparently scares President Trump. We're joined by Maya Wiley, a former SDNY civil prosecutor, human rights expert. I say all that, Maya, because it's easy to lose the thread with so much going on. But the thread was people who claimed they were going to get to the bottom of this becoming part of the cover-up. Where does that stand today as you see some, not all, I'm careful to note, but some of these top Republicans, certainly the president, trying to shut this all down?
I think it shows that they are certainly making themselves appear to be people with something to hide and something to worry about. You said it really well, Ari, when you said the question is why, right? But when you're looking at what you just walked us all through, what so many Americans are now seeing in their news feeds, when you see the image of that card with little girls with balloons and then that naked image later of what we know victims have said happened to them. Victims who have come forward survived, because not all survived, as we know Virginia Giuffre took her own life, that said these are the kinds of things that happened to them. And then to have elected officials say, don't believe your lying eyes. We're just going to call it a hoax. I mean, we're just going to say it can't be believed. This is a pattern where the American public has said,
hello, I'm five-time Olympic gold medalist Amy Poehler. I've been asked to talk to you about the new...
say it can't be believed. This is a pattern where the American public has said, wait, what? Why? And why aren't we shining a light on what happened here and something that was literally federal crimes of sex trafficking that includes minors, and where we have a history of powerful people not only engaged, but even in his first prosecution, helping to tamp down the serious nature of the alleged crimes so that we know in the future more crimes were committed from an administration that is telling us all right now is it's threatening to violate the rights of Americans and people and residents in American cities because of crime,
It
that he
seems
will
like Biden
not
would have
actually
pushed.
suggest that there is any legitimacy
There
to
was no need for him
investigating
to push
what
for
and being
transparency.
about the very allegations.
There was a prosecution. It started under Trump with Epstein. Under Biden, it was Ghislaine Maxwell. She was prosecuted. No special, non-prosecuted prosecution, a deal. She was sentenced. She was in prison. Trump gets back in office and he moves her. So there's no need to question Biden. You need to question Trump. He was arrested under Trump, and he unalived himself under Trump. Ghislaine was arrested and prosecuted under Biden. So what's your question? Have you done your research, or are you just repeating what other people have said? Do your own research so that you won't sound like you're just talking. Respectfully.
There were powerful people potentially engaged in crime, and crime that included children.
And if Trump wouldn't have opened his big mouth, we would have all assumed that everything was handled with Maxwell. But no, Trump wanted to dangle carrots over the Democrats' head, thinking that he was going to trip the Democrats up. So if he wouldn't have opened his mouth saying that it was more to it, then we would have went with one is unalive and the other is serving time. So why would you even put that in the comments? That's
outrageous, and one that I'm just shocked by one thing.
Chuck, you said your dad is already giving you signs from heaven that this man is an evil. Yeah.
Stop refusing to be transparent about sex crimes. What about that?
Yeah, it's time to expose the devil, the evil, the evilness.
In the prison assignment to his
conspirator. And he has no empathy for the victims because he victimized them. And let's be clear. He do not have empathy for them because he was also a predator. He preyed upon them.
Top banker,
and because he looks worse right now than Clinton. Now, I'm not saying it's going to change, but right now his position looks worse than what he thought Clinton's position would be. It's no, but if Biden would have exposed Trump, no, it fell up under Trump's first term. It fell up under his first term. And he Epstein was either moved or unalived under his first term. So what are you talking about? What are you talking about? So Epstein was already unalived under Biden. Only person that was left was Ghislaine Maxwell. And guess what? She got prosecuted. So what are you talking about? It was Trump who came under his political campaign saying that there was more and they were going to dig deeper. So it's like, well, why do we need to dig deeper? I thought it was already resolved. No, Bill Clinton. He forgot about himself, or he thought that it would not affect him. He exposed himself. He exposed himself. And people should never have voted for him just to expose the Democrats. See, they thought it was just going to expose the Democrats. He forgot with his dementia, allegedly, that he was in the files. He forgot. So asked him, why did he forget that he was all wrapped up in these deals with Epstein? Asked him, why did he even open his mouth if he knew he was in them? Asked him, why did he even open his mouth if he knew that he drew a silhouette of a female's body saying that me and you will never part because we're best friends and we see things eye to eye? Stop asking crazy questions. I am too sleepy for this.
Important person that was basically exposed for bending over backwards for Epstein in the Times account this week. He gave his first response today. Take a listen.
We totally regret ever having done visit that man. But we always get better when we do. So when you talk about cyber or safeguards or anti-money laundering or bad guys in the system, we're always trying to improve that. And it'll never be perfect because the bad guys are quite smart too about how they go about it. But we're among the best in the world. Doesn't mean we don't make mistakes.
That's Diamond's response. It speaks to, the seriousness of this issue. People say, oh, is this conspiracy theories? Is this DC politics? This is hitting a lot of different places that have tried to be secretive. And while Mr. Diamond says they have these programs, including AML, anti-money laundering, the Times account showed whether or not Diamond knew about it. They didn't find that in writing, but it showed that other people, top people at the bank, did know about it. The AML flags were waived. They just gave an exception to this horrific deceased sex trafficker.
Okay, y'all. Good night. I'm going to sleep. Have a good one.